After Uttarakhand, Himachal is facing the disaster caused by forest fires. Forest fires not only devastate vast areas of vegetation but also have far reaching effects on our climate, biodiversity, and the livelihoods of communities around the world. It has become one of the most pressing environmental issues of our time. So, on the occasion of World Environment Day, we are present with a bunch of Indian Forest Services officers to discuss the ecological impact of forest fires. Hi everyone, this is Pallavi and you are watching Indian Masterminds. Today we are honored to have with us a panel of esteemed experts who will shed light on the causes, consequences, and potential solution for managing and mitigating the impact of forest fires. We have with us Dr. Shekhar Kumar Neeraj, who is posted as Head of South Asia Wildlife Justice Commission, Dr. P. Ramesh, CCCF Project Tiger Karnataka, Dr. Abdul Qayyum, DFO in Middle Andaman, and Mr. Akashdeep Badhavan, DFO Barambanki. So, first of all, thank you so much for joining our session. It's really my pleasure to have you all with us. And I'll just start putting questions because I don't want to waste your time. So, since Neeraj sir is the most senior one here, so I'll start with him. We all know that after Uttarakhand now Himachal is also witnessing the forest fire. So I wanted to understand why are forests, especially in the hills, witnessing worst ever fires this year. Is it only the heat, or there is more to it?
Mainly it's heat. Definitely it's heat, and it's not that in only the hills. It's a recurring phenomenon. Yeah. And my friends from UP and Uttarakhand know it has been going on for a long time. Most of our forests in any case are on hills. Even if you look at Tamil Nadu, in Karnataka, except that some of the vast plain areas in central India and some grasslands in northeast, majority of the forests are actually on the hills. So obviously they get affected very quickly. Second, the moisture, the depletion of moisture in those areas is faster than, because of slope, is faster than the plain. The plain water still can be retained in pockets. There will be several ponds and this and that, here and there, the water bodies. And in hill areas, because of slope and aspects, the dryness gets quicker. So the drying. So the moment month comes, and because sunlight comes there, then the soil gets drier quickly. Yeah. Then some of the hilly areas have got highly inflammable species, right, which catches the fire very, very quickly. And they just after the spring season, and then accumulation of the calorific value on the soil, already a dry soil, becomes so high that when the other conditions also become adverse, then right, they catch the fire quicker than in the plains, because plains more spread out, and the species are also some of the species definitely are having more vulnerability to fire. But right, then a lot of other species are there which are still can manage even higher level of heat. That's why when they say that climate change occurs, is when the climate change occurs, what do the scientists say? That there will be migration of species from down toward higher altitude. Right. So it may be higher altitude and then much higher altitude, and so that migration is that along the slope, they say. So so all these factors you put together, then it increases the vulnerability, the threat, the probability of getting the fire quicker. But to summarize it, is more of the dryness, surface runoff. Right. And if you look at the per unit soil heat condition, then you will find them much more than on the hills than the plain. And even practically also, as a common person, if you go to any hill area, you'll find the sunlight of the day will be very hot, scorching. Right. But evenings and mornings will be a different scenario, because sunlight you will feel much more intense in the hilly areas than what you feel in the plain, just irrespective of any temperature changes.
Yeah. So, sir, I'll obviously come and discuss factors that has led to the spread of fire, especially in Uttarakhand and then in Himachal. But before that, Ramesh sir, you have a vast experience in working in Bandipur. And as we talked about it earlier also, during your tenure, I think very little or I think minimum fire incident happened.
Zero
So
fire, you can say.
yeah. So I just want to know if you can put it like directly, could the extent of forest fire in Uttarakhand and Himachal be controlled with better preparedness, or we are helpless on that front?
Yeah, you have asked a so pertinent question, very right question, in very right perspective. Because as Sat said, the fire at a very conducive environment, very hot, dry, windy, and this year is you can say drought year. After 2017, the 2023-24 is a drought year. No rainfall till last 10-15 days back. It was rainy just 15 days back. So I want to wish to tell one more thing is in India, 100% forest fire are man-made, which I want to put forth to you. 100%. There is no natural forest fire in anymore. 100% is a man-made. And so in that situation, our possible thing is to preparedness. We have to be prepared well in advance, and what are all possible, we have to keep it ready. And when there is a fire, we have to douse it. We have to douse it as much as possible, as much quick as possible. So this is the thing which the forest officers are here to do a task. And as you rightly said, Bandipur, you might be knowing Bandipur is so famous, but it's so infamous for the forest fire. You know the 2017 forest fire, where 4,500 hectares has been burned to ashes, and come then 2019 also 3,160 hectares has been burned to ashes. But last 3 years, there is no fire. It means, and what I'm telling is, there's no fire means fire does, people give fire, but we have put off all those fire within 1 hour's time, maximum 2 hours time. That is which we can do it. So that's it. Apart from Bandipur, I've been serving in Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary, the Skudramukh Wildlife Sanctuary, Nagarole before that, and Daroji Sanctuary, so many areas. And wherever we go, we put our complete effort, heart and soul to be prepared for anything. My mantra, that's what we follow. It's you put fire anywhere. We will give the people or anybody put fire anywhere. I will reach the spot within 1 hour's time. I'll put off the fire within 2 hours time. That's the thing. So when you that much prepare is required, that's all. And as such, sir has told, those Uttarakhand and Himachal is a very, very tough terrain. If it is tough terrain, the preparedness should be double or triple the thing. Okay, we cannot take that risk at a lot of time. So we have to give more importance to preparedness and be ready for anything. So that's what I want to stress upon it.
Right. So now, Akash sir, like terrain, this thing has been put out by Neeraj sir also, and then Ramesh sir also. UP is mostly plain areas. So do you feel it's less challenging to tackle fire in UP if compared to Uttarakhand or any hilly areas?
First of all, thank you so much, Palviji, for inviting me to this. I'll start by extending my greetings to all the senior officers. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
To sir, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Sir say, Abdul sir say, I have interaction because sir also belongs to UP.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm from 2016 batch, sir. My name is Akash Badhavan. And I'm currently posted in Barabanki, sir. Prior to this, I was posted in Katarnia Ghat Wildlife Sanctuary, Dudhwa Tiger Reserve, for almost 3 years now. In terms of the forest fire, as Ramesh sir has also rightly pointed out, pretty much 100% of all the forest fires that happen are invariably anthropogenic factors. Barely will you come across as any natural factors in these circumstances. Again, the temperature plays a very important role. We've been seeing the temperatures in certain parts of UP, for example, if you look at Jhansi over the past 132 years, this is the first time since a meteorological center was set up in Jhansi back in 1892. After 132 years, the temperature has crossed 48.3. There have been places in UP where the temperature is almost nearing 50 degrees. If you're talking about the feeling temperature, that's fairly above 50 degrees at certain points. It all comes down to fair amount of preparedness. in my previous tenure in Katarnia Ghat, it is basically a plain area. It is just next to the Nepal border. Again, you've got to understand the whole milieu in not just a in a single silo sort of an approach. Basically, all the forest areas, if you understand in a place like UP, which is extensively populated with a lot of human population, the pressure of human population on the forest is a lot more than any other state, if you look at it in terms of the population wise.
All right.
It all boils down to pieces of lands. Forest, for example, a district in which Katarnia Ghat was situated, a district whose area is about 4,500 square kilometers, and almost 1/10 or 12% or 15% of the area of the whole district lies with the forest department. Now, a lot of people have been slowly migrating into the forest. There's a road which cuts across. I'm just talking of a particular place just to give you a small example.
Right.
For example, Katarnia Ghat, this place had a national highway running through the heart of the sanctuary. This place had a railway line running through the heart of the sanctuary. There were 5 trains which used to traverse throughout the sanctuary. It was 5 times a day during the day. Every time we used to have a fire incident, it was mostly along the tracks because of the people throwing bidis and cigarettes. Any travelers who used to travel from the trains, they had this habit of smoking bidis and cigarettes. They'd throw this. And mostly it is also revenge based because there's a lot of wildlife related small crime which keeps on happening. There's a lot of forest related crime that keeps happening. So every now and then when the the park management tries a stricter level of enforcement, there's a certain amount of retaliation from the common public. And the easiest way for the public to retaliate is by setting ablaze the forests. So it solves 2 purposes. First, this whole thing is also vented out. Your anger is vented out in the fact that the concerned forest staff would have to be answerable. They'll be held accountable for the forest fires, whatever are happening. Secondly, it will also distract a lot of forest personnel from their routine jobs. For example, patrolling and other enforcement activities, and they'd be caught up with dousing of the fire-related activities. Again, preparedness, as Ramesh also mentioned, is one of the most important key aspects. In Tarai, there's been a wonderful management practice in the sense that all the forest roads of Tarai, if we look at Pilibhit, if we look at Dudhwa, Sir also knows it very well. Shekhar sir also has been working. Shekhar sir we've read a lot about sir's work in traffic also. So sir knows about this sensitive area of Dudhwa and Pilibhit very well. All the forest roads are invariably the fire lines. So we have these 100 fire lines, which is the width is 100 feet of all these fire lines across DTR, Dudhwa Tiger Reserve, across Pilibhit Tiger Reserve. So this kind of helps, in a sense, to control the forest fire as well. And in fact, just to put things into perspective as to how much the anthropogenic activity is contributing to fires, just 2 days back in Katarnia Ghat, there is a range called Dharmapur. It is a core range just next to the Nepal border. They got hold of some, some illegal people from the Nepali side who were entering into the Indian side, and they were held up for questioning. But then later they were left. The same night, a group of Nepalese people come down all along the border, right across the no man's land, and they set the Dharmapur forest chowki ablaze. And it is not just the chowki which is set ablaze, it is the surrounding forest also, because you've got to understand these are high forest. It has a lot of sal interspersed with a bit of teak. So the leaves are also being shed at this point in time, which acts as a normal fuel for the fire to, to spread. So all these factors, if you look at it combined, there is no one particular factor, but in all probability, the anthropogenic factors is, as Ramesh sir rightly mentioned, the essence of all the forest-related fires.
And now, Abdul sir, maybe you might all not be aware, but sir has I think he has been successful in battling forest fire in Arunachal. Arunachal is as difficult terrain as in Uttarakhand and all. He has been awarded also for that because of his app and all. So now I want you to put in perspective 2 things. First, that the question that I asked Akash sir also, because you had the chance to work in a difficult terrain. So that one, and also how much, like last time also we talked and we discussed this thing, the the pine trees and all, how much they contribute in spreading the fires, and can't they be replaced if they are, every year we are struggling because of that, so can't we replace it?
Okay, I'll come to that question, but before that, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
So hi, sir. Good to see you, Neeraj sir. Vaguely remember I met you in academy probably 2014-15 sometime.
Yeah,
Or
I remember.
I'm
recall.
feeling very nice to, kind of ये थोड़ा सा वैसा हो गया ना, alumni
sir.
meet type का
So
feel I have
point of
created.
time I was not actually aware is
Right.
yeah, maybe in some sort of meeting your own fraternity people.
Right.
Ramesh sir, we had I think interacted last year also. That was regarding some ecotourism activity in protected areas.
Really.
And Akash से मेरी बातचीत हुई है कई बार. So I'm grateful. Last time he arranged in Katania Ghat instead for some of my friends. Anyway, back to the topic. So good to see you, our own fraternity people, and it's the challenging year. And I think Ramesh sir very rightly said it's drought year also. But I'll agree with Shekhar sir's point also, where he highlighted that there is a reason of specific species. So it is very much true, especially in case of the hilly areas such as Himachal or Arunachal. In Arunachal Pradesh, we tried highlighting this issue to the government, and we tried to publish that also. So it came to our notice that there is a species called cheer pine. So it is there in large extent, and since it has got huge resin content. So when there is a drought sort of situation and when temperature is high, humidity is low, then you can see that the leaves which are falling on the ground that become sort of ticking bomb. And since a lot of other issues are there, the dependency of general public on forest is very high in these hilly state. Very often they get inside the forest, and this BD and cigarette is very common phenomena. So they go inside and by accident and sometimes by will they do that. If there are certain issues with the forest department, they put fire in the forest areas by will also. It's not always accident. And I think the correct way of saying would be something 99% are anthropogenic in nature. There are few natural factors are also there. So what I feel is one way of doing it, that let us find out the real factors which are responsible for forest fire. So if we say that climate change is one factor, I feel it's just a factor. The reason is why we are having so in Arunachal, Odisha, or Himachal, or Uttarakhand, but not in Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh. So we need to look into the factors that is called management practices which are prevailing in those states. There are many states which are having vulnerability mappings. So using technology such as remote sensing and GIS, we can very well predict. We can very well devise a method by focusing our energy in particular pocket. So for example, in Arunachal, what we did, we studied roughly 5,200 villages using remote sensing data. And we predicted that out of 5,200, these 560 villages are having higher probability of fire incidents. So we called it the hotspot. And that was flagged to the department. And accordingly, certain measures such as forest line creation or putting our limited resources to those pockets was ensured by the department. And I feel that was the reason that the number of incidences was probably brought down to some extent. So that is one. Now, regarding the replacement of the such species, especially cheer pine, I feel it can surely be done. For example, in Andaman, it's not related to forest fire, but I'm just giving one example. So there's a species called teak, which is primarily not from Andaman origin, but it was planted because of some obvious reason. But now the department has realized that it is not suitable in the Andaman sort of climate. So we are gradually removing it. So removal is directly by felling as per prescription in working plan. And then we are not having these plant in the nursery also. Similarly, such initiatives should be taken by the Himachal or Uttarakhand or Arunachal sort of places where we should actually stop cultivating or planting cheer pine sort of plants. The plants which are having higher resin content or oil content, they should not ideally be planted. So we should remove with certain native species or maybe fruit-bearing species. So that sort of initiative is needed. Apart from that, I feel technology can come to our great rescue. If we know the information in advance, if we know the vulnerabilities, the pockets which we need our prior attention, or we can develop a fire alarm sort of system then I'm sure we are going to tackle the fire-linked disaster in much better way.
Right. So, Shekhar sir, since you also raised this point of species being one of the major factor in spreading the fire. So, you have anything to add to what Abdul sir said?
And just repeat that. No,
Yeah. Okay.
There was some problem in the.
Yeah, sir. So since when you were sharing your opinion, you also raised this point of, species being one of the major factor in spreading the fire. So I wanted to ask, actually, I want you to add what Dr. Abdul said on, replacing it or how to deal with such issue.
Let me let me compliment all my, my younger colleagues that they're all look to be that they've done outstanding work in their own respective areas, and coming up with excellent ideas and this the insights, which is really great to see. What I didn't mention that way that species is the major factor, but I said that species is one of the factors.
One of the factors,
that why
yes.
the hill areas, as Dr. Abdul also said, and others also said, so the hill areas appear to be more vulnerable. So, but then, maybe the large scale replacement of species sometime may not be possible. It may take a long time, and the climate is changing a little bit more rapidly than what we had expected. So, I think we'll have to depend upon what my other colleagues said, Ramesh and others, Akashan. So they say that, as you said, that I remember that long back when I was in Mudumalai, my very first posting, young people, young like my younger colleagues here, very young, and we used to run to the forest and with the twigs and then beat it physically. I was just there, see if they had that time. Area, not to the crown, the canopy of the trees, but then we'll be able to ultimately succeed to stop it. So I think, apart from species, which is a gradual management plan issue, because you need to have it in management plan, get it approved, have the funding to start replacing them. And as he said, Dr. Abdul said that, start prioritizing them, because efforts to optimize will be very, very important. You can't just start a blanket plan all over and then start doing it, because not practically possible. So start with the most vulnerable hotspots and then go accordingly. So combination of the technologies, management plan, prescriptions, as you said that. And as most of them said, because they're practical people on the ground and they're seeing it, that preparedness, the time taken in responding to a situation would be extremely important. So, especially alone, again, I'm emphasizing it that because your question was from that angle. So, especially alone, I'm not saying that is immediately going to be answered, that change, replace, all that.
It will take time,
but it would take time, and you'll also look at the practicability of it, money available, but then which is when I said when you optimize it, all my colleagues said that optimizing the efforts in terms of use of technologies nowadays, compared to my time, my DFO time, is much more technologically sound situations there, that you get the alert very quickly. You get the alert, but then how much time you take to respond, that's very important. I think Ramesh probably managed to do this because his response was extremely fast. To Bandipur and other area. Similarly, my other colleagues Abdul and Akash. Because the response is very important. Even if you look at in Madumalai Tiger Reserve, also quite much control we had done by rapid response team. But the rapid response team in an area, see, even if you look at Uttarakhand and Himachal, it's not that we are not knowing that fire is going to come. It shouldn't, catch us suddenly all of a sudden by surprise, because we know that the fire season started, temperature predictions are nowadays in months in advance. So in that situation, the preparedness has to be so tight, so robust, and so quick and so comprehensive that I think that could be one of the very good answers to tackle them. So once again, the combination of all those factors I mean, the management plan prescription, the changing prescriptions with all, as Dr. Abdul also said that they started replacing species, and so which is a little long term. So management plan prescription, act on them, then use complete maximum use of technology, and then physical preparedness, that is rapid response, immediate rapid response. And then fourth thing which like to add here, three already been said by my colleagues here, that improve the soil hydration condition, the water condition when the situation is cool. You might say to say that the cool is this cool, is that when the situation is not, when it's not still hot, then you see that how much of water conservation practices can be taken up. Take as much as possible and see that your most of the soil areas across the protected areas and surrounding areas remain better hydrated than it was. I've seen in many wildlife areas, even in my own Kata, Tamil Nadu, that these elephants are dying, the species are, many other animals are dying, and we should have been all very prepared. We should have not waited for this situation to even come in, because when we look at, we have water troughs and we have other water conservation measures, looking at the check dams to become dry, and we have not visiting them in the winter months itself, and start taking measure when the summer is still not set in, and then keeping it very hydrated. All that situation really will help it, because then the soil vulnerability of those detritus matter which are lying on the soil, which he is used the word bomb kind of thing, and will the probability of that catching, or the intensity of even when it catches the fire, will come down when the soil and surroundings areas in a better hydrated condition. So I think optimize all of them, and then probably that could give a more much better answers to this. Because one thing which is going to change tomorrow, and all of us are knowing it. I don't know, this climate change, of course, we still need some more research to really establish that this change is going to really be permanent, because when they say statistic, they also say that 19 some year was also very peak heat year, and then 20 years later also suddenly will peak year. So despite the fact that climate changing, and all of us, we know that, we still need to have the research inputs more on how the temperatures will change in time to come. And this year is a year which is a benchmark kind of, probably, because many historical new things have come. So then tomorrow, I think that the learning lessons from this particular year, that is 2024, I think our level of preparation has to be a little bit more optimized, more kind of like radically changed by adding all those factors.
Right. So, Abdul sir, sir also is emphasizing on use of technology. You look at forest fire in a very scientific manner. You work towards it, and you developed an app also. I was talking to few officers in Uttarakhand, and you might have seen videos also, like they were using mostly the traditional method to combat the fire, like jhapa and all. And they were saying ki I asked them all the kind of technologies that are being used in here and in foreign countries also to combat the fire. But they were saying that since it's a hilly area, so most of the technology won't work here. So I want you to tell me if actually whether we are helpless even if we are using technology to combat the fire. I'm not saying for the preparedness, but in combating.
No, I think technology can certainly come to our rescue. And the reason is, in fact, some agency through social media, they contacted me. They were highlighting a method by which they are trying to remove the fuel load which are lying on the forest floor. So there is a machine they have devised. So they contacted me also. I mean, they wanted to come to my division and simply remove the fuel load. So if that can be done, so in any forest fire incidents, if you study it, you will come to know the major factor is the availability of fuel load. Now, this fuel load depends on certain factor, which sir very beautifully highlighted, the role of soil and moisture conservation activity, which very often carry out in forest areas. We call it SMC works, by installing certain check dams, by ensuring that there is enough moisture or humidity in the forest floor. If it is like that, and suppose forest fire occurs also, then the kind of management will become easy in that case. So I feel if we are able to deploy technology to the extent that we are able to remove the fuel load in very, let's say, speedy manner, I'm sure we'll be able to control the forest incidences. If there is nothing left to burn, what will burn eventually?
Right.
So that should be the way. Apart from that, we should also carry out certain studies by studying what kind of species are forest, what is their leaf falling pattern, and its relation with the changing scenario in terms of, I mean, maybe the slope or temperature or humidity. These kind of linkages should also be studied. So for instance, we did that in case of Arunachal Pradesh, and we find a wonderful correlation also. So the places which are having lesser humidity and let's say lesser rainfall and more slopes were there, they are relatively more vulnerable to the forest fire incidents. And it's also true that there are certain pockets where, suppose in case forest fire happens, we can't do anything. So they are geographically so difficult that you can't reach. For example, earlier I was posted in Tawang, Arunachal Pradesh. We were just watching, and forest areas were burning because we can't reach. And having helicopter sort of arrangement everywhere is not possible. So somehow it happened in Uttarakhand, but I've never seen in Arunachal Pradesh that we are throwing water through helicopters or by involving defense people. It's not usually happening in forest areas. So I feel it's good to predict and prevent.
Right. And now, Ramesh sir, you said ki according to you, 100%. And I think everyone highlighted that most of the forest fires are man-made forest fires. So two things I want to understand are, as a people, we are still not aware about such things and this issue, because this is a very dynamic thing to deal with people and to make them understand that how they contribute to such disaster, and then they are only affected. It's a huge task, I think. So how to deal with it? So I want your opinion on that.
Exactly. This is also another very nice question. I will tell forest fire is a social issue. Social issue. I will say it's not it's a really social issue. The thing is, many places what happens, as I told, 100% are man-made. Who puts the fire? The forest fringe villages puts fire. Why they put the fire? There may be n number of reasons. Maybe good reasons. For them, it feels it's a good, and maybe they're not happy with the department. And sometimes there are times, if you don't employ the fire watchers in time, they'll put fire.
Right.
Okay, if you don't employ, because we used to employ fire watcher by January. Jan 1st is the time we employ. If you feel your forests are still wet, still there is no threat of fire, something like that, then you will delay to employ the forest watchers by 10 days. They'll put fire. No, then we have to take watchers to put off the fire. So it's a purely social issue. Many times, no, you employ them in time, there won't be any fire. It has happened, which as I told you, in Nagarjuna in 2011-12, it has happened, we have witnessed. So we tell our staffs, everything do in time. Fire lines, as Abhishek, or sorry, he mentioned, Sir Akshay, he mentioned about fire lines. Yes, fire lines. Do the preparedness, start the work at preparedness in time. Do the workshop, start the fire lines, preparing, you have to cut the fire line and burn the fire line. Fire line in time. And you have to employ the fire watchers in time. So if you employ the fire watchers, there will be threat of fire, because these people will safeguard, these people will work with the department. But if you delay that, I'm employing fire watchers, they themselves will put fire. So I used to tell that it's a social issue. And second thing, there may be some, some poaching might have happened in a division. You might have booked a case. Say example, last 6 months back, there's an encounter. There is a shootout in our forest area. We shot dead one fellow. So that entire villages are very much, though we thought this year there will be big fire, because people will be very angry. They may put fire. Yes, we were well prepared. We have a plan. We have a separate plan to how to deal with it. So we have separate plan. So we thought, we know that area will be surely this year going to burn. So we have a separate plan for that, and we have put a staff wherever it is possible to, instead of actually it's a reactive. Wherever the people put fire, we'll go on stop the fire. It's not like that. We deploy watchers surrounding the forest area to patrol the area. We see that anybody is entering into the forest, something like that. So reactly. And second thing, if any fire has happened, we have to investigate and quickly we have to find out the fellow and catch the fellow and book the case. It has happened 3 years, 3 times happened. When I was in Bellary, there was a fire. Suddenly we searched, we booked a case, FIR, then we caught the fellow and booked the FIR and put in jail. When the fellow is put in jail, we put a big in all the papers. No, then all the people got scared. Those fellow who were putting fire got scared. And from the day the fire stopped. So sometimes we have to be in both the way. If you go on responsive, we can go on responsive. When they put fire, we have to put off the fire. It won't work out. Sometimes we have to go against and aggressively. That will also work out. So overall, as I told you, this is a social. As I told, there are n number of cases, n number of reason to put fire, and we have to find out those reasons why they put fire. If they put fire, how we have to tackle and where they may put fire. Usually, they won't put in a simple area. They choose the area very remote where we cannot reach, where it will spread fast, where it's a valley, where from there all the areas it will spread. So many things they will do. And second thing, they will put fire only on the day when there is a very dry, very windy. Is all they choose. No, there only we have to monitor every day. Where today is a highly dry area, there is no humid in the air, there's high windy. So these all we have to monitor so that it will help us into control and for quick action and all. So on as you pertinently told, it's a social issue. We have to deal socially. We have to, it's just not like simply. And technology part, I want to put one more word as you asking this. Technology can predict, can tell some input only. So with the technology, now you have to be into the forest, you ran, you have to walk into the forest, you have to stop. So beating the fire is one thing. And chopper and all comes to the extremes area, you have to be prepared for that also. Sometimes some in Uttarakhand and all, if this go out of your control, we have to utilize those things also. And you might have seen the foreign and all, Australia, USA, so many areas, no, those with people with so much of technology, sophisticated, highly developed country, they also suffer, no. So we have to make it should not go out of our control.
Right. But we can definitely use the tech in preparation and maybe finding out the hotspot and all.
Hotspot, everything okay. The day where it's a very high windy, so that day you have to be very prepared for that.
Right.
That's all.
And now,
But
Akash,
to control it, you have to be on ground.
right. Akash sir, you also dealt with the same problem, man-made fires. You just highlighted on that part when you were talking about it earlier. How can one thing to sir said ki we have to be aggressive, like we need to make arrests and all. But there is one more thing, making people aware about how this affect us also, right? If these forests will burn, not only it will affect the wildlife there, but also us, the people. So how to do that, make people aware?
Absolutely. Wonderful points raised earlier as well. You've got to check on the fuel, you've got to check the historical data, use of technology. For example, the FSI alerts, which are being sent to the departments across the country. That's a very useful tool. But most importantly, it's people who got to understand. Take for instance, we're talking about climate change. Everybody's feeling the heat. We are slowly transitioning from the talk of climate change mitigation to more of adaptation now.
Right.
Time is here. It's already there. The sun's already above us.
It's real. It's not a theory only that climate is changing. And temperature is.
And the most important thing for people to understand is, if you have a kid, I'm sure everybody has a kid. I just have a 1-year-old with me. And I've slowly started realizing it that till the time you keep stopping the kid as to, you don't touch someplace, the kid is not going to understand. Till the time if it's hot, sometimes I let my kid touch, a cup or a glass when it's hot. So when he touches and then, he'll feel, no, it was hot, I should not have touched it. That's how I think people learn it. So the most important thing in terms of community awareness is you've got to put, the dangers of all of this ahead in front of people. Now you look at the damages of forest fire. There's a lot of air pollution which happens because of the forest fires. We talk about, stubble burning in the northern part of the country. For example, we talk about stubble burning every winters in Punjab. Come winters, there's always a talk of stubble burning in Punjab. a lot of forest fires. Just rough ballpark figure, approximately 3.5 million hectares of the forest of the country is affected by forest fires. And this I'm talking is a regular phenomenon every year.
Okay.
The community awareness needs to begin by telling people of all the danger that lies ahead us. For example, UP has a lot of the UP government has been working extensively in terms of road safety. So much so that even the forest department also, we started getting a lot of signage boards, etc., made by the district magistrate. He said you also put some signage boards about the forest areas, but it should have कि आप गाड़ी धीरे से चलाएं, helmet डालें, so on and so forth. So road safety, the government started telling the people that every day, look, 400 people. The government started telling people very extensively that look, 400 people die every day in UP due to road accidents.
Right.
So we need to make sure that road safety is a very big part of the government approach. Similarly, community awareness, till the time we start awareing people that because of the forest fires, there'll be a lot of pollution in the air. The air quality index is going to take a plunge. Because of this, just another ballpark figure that 6 to 7 million people in the country are being pushed into premature deaths, especially if you look at kids, because of the air quality, because of the air pollution. So all such figures, all the gravities of the situation needs to be put forward to the people, and it is only with the community awareness that this thing can happen. So as Sir rightly said, Abdul Sir also, that community awareness is the way to. That we've been using technology. We are doing the thing scientifically. The department's doing everything, by the book, so much as, and in fact, outside the book as well. But till the time people do realize it, that it's their responsibility as well, and the harms that will, come back to them because of the forest fire. Till the time people understand this, it's still a little incomplete.
Okay. So since we are running out of time, so I am combining 3 questions together. First, I am coming back to you, Shekhar sir. To what was our topic was to understand the impact of forest fire. So I want you to answer three questions. First, is it all bad? Because I have understood from what I have talked to other officers also that it's not bad if it is in controlled manner, because it allows other vegetation and all to grow. So I want your take on that. Is forest fire all bad? Secondly, what is its ecological impact, like environment impact? And since wildlife are also affected by it, so how we can save them from these forest fires? So 3 questions combined. I want your quick opinion on this.
Towards the end, you are getting into quite much of complications, I would say, because there's no easy
you can
answer.
take your time. I just combined all my 3 questions.
I'm saying in a different way that these are complicated issues,
right?
And I think my colleagues have really put them in the best possible minds on this issue. They already said about all that. What could be the best? I mean, there's nothing best, but then what could be an optimum combination of approach? And they said all that. So I think you want me to repeat, I'll repeat them. But then rather than repeating, I'll say 2, 3 more things for taking clues from their talks alone. One is that, the research. I would say that, though we know that climate is changing, there's an impact, going to be a very drastic impact on forest situation. Even look at the quality of the forests, quality of the soil, which all matter a lot, is going to be very badly and adversely or a great extent affected by climate change. We know this fact. At least we can theorize that. But are we doing enough research to understand it more? Because, by only, kind of looking at options available probably may not help completely. We also need to know more that to what extent this change, the climate change, is going to really affect it. If the soil degrades to this particular extent, then how much is going to make an impact, and impacts in such a way that fire becomes much more, vulnerability increases, and then the quality of the forest declines. And then once the quality of the forest declines, then it always gives more, probability of fire to catch on. So that correlation has to be there. Even if you said the wildlife, we know that, when the fire happens, when the climate change, takes a more drastic proportion, then obviously the wildlife is going to be quite much affected, because species which are all obligated to the water bodies, the wetlands, are going to be the affected first, and then they try to migrate upward, and then look for the better habitat conditions to survive there. So, this is all, these are all theories, most of them. But have we done enough research, or are we into more research, greater investment in those particular aspects of research which give us a better platform for answers, or rather better answers? I don't think we are doing enough in that way, because the climate change things going on for last whole decade and even more than that. But then I don't think we have put enough matching amount of investment in conducting research, which can answer some of these questions better in a more scientific manner. We have the science, we have scientific, we have technology available nowadays, but I'm still seeing that since the discorrelation between scientific findings, the climate change scenarios inbuilt in those research, and then some of the research findings coming at our hand to first work at the policy level, because policy is also required to be modified in order to give more room for infrastructure and other kinds of development, and then also look at the actual research, and then in the findings, the local research also. So I think, since we're talking about fire right now, and so I think then fire, you have to have the greater investment in fire research. Apart from technology, whatever technology available is fine, could be used to the extent possible. But then research, and the research can also get into the social aspect of it. Because I think one very good point Ramesh was using that time, and we used it. That is fire intelligence. I mean, we have wildlife intelligence, we have crime intelligence, we have forest intelligence, but let's also have something thought about the fire intelligence. That do we spend enough time, thoughts, and money on collecting intelligence related to fire? I think Ramesh gave some example, and probably that should work. Similarly, in other areas, as a policy, we should also think about that. If we can collect intelligence in again the peace time, and find out that which are the areas which are more vulnerable because of social reasons, and then act there first, or have some preparedness to address those issues, can be really of help. So fire, I mean, your question of whether fire is making an impact on wildlife, I mean, it's a very obvious answer that they are. It's going to make an impact. It's everywhere. It's happened in Australia. Example, we have seen Indonesia, we have seen it. And, they really can absolutely adversely affect the wildlife in the most drastic manner if they have done that. So in India also, as you know, that I said in the beginning, my first phase of this talk, that more of our forests are located in the hills, in most of the states, and then wildlife, of course, in the forests. So when those areas become more vulnerable to fire, then obviously the wildlife is going to be much affected. Second, the water. I'm again reiterating that point, and that water situation, water condition, water is going to get dried, and more of dryness situation is going to come, because both climate change as well as the heat conditions, and the fire also accentuates that. So how to more scientifically also is an area in which we should spend enough time and have a much more concrete approach to this, rather than having a little bit, we know everything kind of situation. So I think that has to change. So I think a little bit also to end myself here in this particular thing, is that I'll say that it has to be a more comprehensive approach than what we have at present.
Right.
And look from angle of investment, from angle of research, from angle of physical and human resources, from angle of using the scientific solutions as well as also the social approaches. I think all that have to come by way of a new package, a comprehensive package, a package which has got a lot of thrust both from the policy angles as well as from the local decision making angles, and then act on it. Otherwise, tomorrow's situation, like in America, Dr. Abdul was saying, or somebody, I think Abhishek, somebody was saying, Akash, somebody was saying that despite technology, they're not able to find answers to that, because once we know different fire, different region, different causes, and different extent, then I think we, allocate resources and optimize allocation of resources according to that plan rather than going randomly.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's where I end.
So Ramesh sir, same question.
Yeah. Actually, I'm telling the question number 1 is that fire is a bad. I say no.
Okay.
Fire as such is not a bad. But here we are seeing a recurrent fire.
Right.
Recurrent fire is a bad. Okay, because fire helps us in many ways, as they are told, to reduce the load, in forest fire and to maintain the grass. And even though there are many bad things, but there are some good things also there. So fire as such is not bad, but recurrent forest fire at same place every year is a bad. Then the entire soil characteristics will change, the species composition will change, everything will change. And second thing you are telling, ecological impact. There are so many ecological impact. I will tell you one impact which we are seen in Bandipur or on other area also. So because of one of the important fire is the fire promotes weeds, invasive weeds. Now I will tell one data. In Bandipur, 100% of the core area is infested with lantana.
Right.
872 square kilometers infested with lantana. The reason behind, we have done so many research and analysis. In the thing, the fire hotspot and the lantana hotspot coincides each other very exactly, superimpose no the maps, it will exactly. So it shows there wherever there's a recurrent fire, there only the lantana growth vigors. The 100% area of the core is infested with the lantana. But if you say 38% of the area is very high lantana, 38%. Very high lantana where there is a recurrent fire every year. And 50% is the moderate weed, and only 12% is very less. So it clearly shows we are talking about invasive weeds, no? One of the major impact of forest fires, it promotes invasive weeds. It suppresses the local native the species. This is the one of the very, very classical example which we are seeing in Bandipur, Nagarole, BRT, all these southern areas and west areas. So these two is I wish to tell.
Okay. And Abdul sir, same question. I just want you to add in what Ramesh sir said, because again, I was talking about Uttarakhand and then said that there are many reasons due to which man, put fires. And one of that is to, reduce the weed and all. So they create fire for that. So, and sir is saying it promotes weed. Like the more you, put fire, the more weeds will grow. So I want you to take your take on that, and obviously your concluding statement.
Yeah, so I think Forest Department regularly does this activity also called control burning. So we select certain patches, and when wind speed is slow and weather is favoring us, then we lit fire out with our own staff, and we have it very controlled manner. The reason is very obvious: to ensure that there is enough regeneration. And it is also done for developing certain grass species also. And sir very rightly said that it also promotes other regenerations also. And the point which he made, that is related to lantana versus recurring forest fire, is very important area, sir. I can assure you we are going to have a research on this. Because I would like to map them. What is the percentage mapping webinar? And but while concluding my thought, I would like to also agree with the fact that this has certainly become a social evil, which Ramesh sir very clearly said. For example, in case of Andaman, we have seen there is a tribe called Jarwa tribe. So we are managing Jarwa tribe resources managed by Forest Department. This year, to a shock, one case was reported which primarily happened in Jarwa region, and we were shocked to see that, because this has never happened. So we came to know through our own local intelligence that it was lit by Jarwa people. Otherwise, they are known as ideal conservationists. They are friend of the forest. They have helped us like anything. But this is the first case where they lit the fire. Somehow that was managed probably by struggle of around 2 to 3 hours. But still it has led to damage of around 2 hectare land. So that has certainly become a social evil, I feel so. And in order to manage that, we initiated a program called One Samvad Se Samadhan. So like solution through forest dialogue. Right. So that was very much taken by the local people. I requested my PCCF also, he was here, and we had very good interaction. The idea was to ensure that we are also their friend. if they are friend of the forest, then forest is also their friend, and let us sit together and sort out local issues. So, for example, there are cases where people are leading fire in the forest area. So we ensure that those people are somehow engaged in as forest watcher. So, for example, in Andaman, there is a practice called daily rated mazdoor. So we ensure that people from each village, or at least 1 or 2 people, are taken for the forest works, so that they will help us in getting to know who are the people involved in such activities. And secondly, by using them, we can probably manage or combat forest fire incidents in a better way. So that I feel that something like one Samaj se Samadhan kind of program, or we should develop a relationship with the local people so that we can take their help during the hour of need. So by this, we can certainly manage the forest as from disaster point of view. Thank you.
Okay. And anything, this is open to all, anything you
Yeah, just
want to add?
Yes, I don't nothing to add. I want to highlight. Sir Neeraj sir told about research. No, till today there is no much research happened in the forest fire area. I mean, there may be some, very few. So that's what. But from PMO, there's a scientific advice to PMO. They came to Bandipur last year. They were with us. They were interacting. We were giving so much of input to them to develop some of the good tankers, good water tankers. Especially the designed water tankers, some of the good new we are telling the new equipments and in innovative technology and all we were discussing. And second thing, what Abdul told them, that, and you asked again, the awareness. Awareness is very, very key. This year, forest fire has been avoided from Bandipur because of awareness. We called all the tribal leaders. There are so many tribes like Jin Kurba, Betta Kurba, Soligas. We collected all the tribal leaders and give them some money, given them vehicle. They went on behalf of forest department. They went to every tribal tribal village. They created awareness, and it's as he told, no. So we have to sit with them. Any difference, you have to talk with them and creating awareness. Awareness is, as you rightly put, one of the major, very, very important. It will help us a lot.
Right. And now, Akash sir, coming to you for your concluding statement on what is the ecological impact of forest fire? Because as a layman, I believe that forest fire is also the result of what is happening with our ecology, like climate is changing and temperature is rising. And now forest fire will add on to that. So what is the impact, how we can deal with it, and how it affects the wildlife also? Are we prepared to save, how we'll save them?
I think that's quite a loaded question for a concluding remark.
Right. But we are running out of time, so that's why I had to merge all of these together.
The ecological impact of forest fires, it is pretty much known to all. As I've spoken, not only does it aid in increasing the air pollution of that particular area, if we are already undergoing the 6th extinction phase for the species, if we speak about it. The previous 5 extinction phases that happened in the human history were the last and the 5th extinction period being the one where the dinosaurs were extinct. All the previous 5 extinction phases which happened were entirely because of natural reasons. 6th and the current extinction phase that we're going is the only extinction phase which is due to anthropogenic reasons. And the rate at which the species are being extinct is approximately 10,000. Some predict about 1,000 times higher, and some reports predict about a 10,000 times higher rate of extinction of the species in the current extinction phase. Not only are these ecological events, these fire events, adding to the aggravation of such extinction of the species, they are also it is as Ravi sir also rightly mentioned, it is highlighting, it is a social issue that is highlighted. It's a social fabric of the society which is being highlighted as in the disconnect of the people from the forests.
Right.
That is very clearly highlighted in this particular issue. If we look at it, people setting fires across to settle their scores with the department, or they still feel it as a source of retribution. To placate their anger. Just one concluding point in terms of the ecological changes that it has on the forest fire has. The people again, the most aspect is the people, they need to be aware of as to how much of how much of this whole thing is going to boomerang on them. Till the time they don't understand,
Right.
the wheel is not going to move. As Ramesh sir mentioned about his initiative in Bandipur and in Nagarol as well. We've been doing over the past 3 years that I was posted there. We witnessed a bit of reduction in the forest fires, and we got some seminally because of 2 things that we did. First, again, that area is highly prone to human-wildlife conflict. In fact, Katanya Ghat, if we look at the stats for the past 2-3 years, we've been doing second in terms of the whole country. Every second day, I have an incident. I'm talking about casualties. I'm not talking about injuries. So we place a lot of emphasis on on combating human wildlife conflict. So what we did was we started using the help of other organizations like WWF, like WTI, to engage people as Bagh Mitra, friends, the tiger friends.
Right.
Not only were they used to help, and they had a sense of accomplishment, and it was just some sort of help that we were giving either in cash or in kind to lure them into doing some work. So they added a second layer of defense against a lot of things, while they were taking care of assisting the forest staff wherever it was needed in terms of patrolling and helping. They also rose up to the occasion whenever we had issues of forest fires, and they were helpful in that. So this, as Abdul sir also mentioned and Shekhar sir also, that the community engagement, the community needs to. I mentioned earlier also, it's a social issue, which for forest fires is reflective of how distant and how far we've gone from our forest as a society as a whole. This particular thing, this bridge needs to be, this gap needs to be bridged, and this is where the community comes in. And in terms of the ecological disadvantages, I'm sure there is multiple, which can be not just the pollution aspect, it is also the destruction of the species. And it's not just in the forest. If you destroy one species, it is not just one species which is being affected. It's a chain reaction. It's a domino effect. For example, you take one flag-showing species, you take tigers out of the forest, you'll end up with no waters in people's taps, because this was highlighted very vividly in this movie called Sherni, that if जंगल शेर है तो जंगल है तो बारिश है तो पानी है. Right. So, but all of this needs to come back to people. They need to understand that all of these effects are going to boomerang with them. And again, technology can obviously help, but then till the time we put our boots, the society as a whole, the issue still remains to be addressed. Thank you so much.
Okay, so if anybody wants to add,
just one point. And just to clarify that, this they were talking about the fire bad, or this controlled fire is a different thing altogether, and this kind of uncontrolled fire due to negligence or animosity or climate change is something which is not desirable.
Right. Yeah.
And this control fighting is scientific, and this is a very different type of impact. This has got to be a different type of impact, just to clarify to you.
Yeah. I understand that. I hope our viewers who will be watching this will understand this. So on that note, thank you so much.
And secondly, last one, I want to mention one more thing. And our government, any government or anything, when there is a fire, they won't be very serious, no? When there's fire only, they will be serious. Even I want to mention about budgeting. So they talk about how much budget they give for fire. Nothing. If you see, very minuscule. When there is a fire, then they will come. They will give. I will give this much. I will give that much. You control. So this is also happening. We are seeing it. We are so serious about fire, but not giving proper budget to fire is also one of the major issues, which our forests are suffering.
Right. Yeah, so we need to spend more on, I guess, preparedness rather than controlling and then deploying army and helicopters. I guess it's better to spend on that. So on that note, thank you so much for your time. It was really an enriching session for me. So I'm really grateful. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Abdul and Akash. Nice.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So thanks to her also. Because of her, we are able to meet at least.